Hello guys, TavHD here and welcome back to another video, and welcome to part 1 of a new series where I will be rebuilding my old gaming computer that I bought about 5 years ago. Since I bought this computer I've used many different ones, and I took this thing apart and put all the different bits into different systems, and some bits just ended up in storage. But today we are going to be starting a new series where I will be rebuilding this computer to how it was when I bought it. But this is just part 1 and we're just going to be doing a parts overview, so if you're looking for the actual build, that isn't happening today, that will most likely be part 2. So come back for that if you're interested. Today we're just going to talk about the parts which this computer consists of. And first off, we're going to talk about the case. I actually really like this case. It's a Cooler Master Elite 430, I believe. I really like the design. It's got mesh on the front. You can have 3 optical drives in here, then 2 more for like SD card readers and things like that. We've got a Cooler Master logo on it, room for a 120mm fan at the bottom. Got USB 3 on this and USB 2 as well as audio in and out. This is a full ATX case, even though my motherboard's only micro ATX. It's a fairly small case, really. It's smaller than the current case I'm using, and I really like it. It's got a acrylic side window. It's kind of all scratched up, but what you expect. It's spent quite a lot of time under my desk getting accidentally kicked, so those things happen. You can also put a fan on here if we wanted to. People back in the day used to do that quite a lot, but this computer didn't come with one on there, so I'm not going to put one on either. Around the back, another fan slot. This is another 120mm. Of course, we've got our expansion slots. 2 have been removed, even though our graphics card only requires 1. I don't know where the other one's gone. I don't remember taking that out. Maybe it didn't come with one. I'm not sure. Then, of course, the power supply goes at the bottom. One thing I forgot to say about the case is that it used to have a logo on the bottom here for CyberPower PC, because this was a pre-built computer that I bought from Curry's PC World. It was a CyberPower Empire Elite, I believe. It cost me £500. Probably overpriced, I know. Nowadays the components are worth hardly anything, but if I was to build it myself at the time it would have been cheaper, but I didn't, and I got quite a lot of good use out of this thing. Okay, so next up is the motherboard and the CPU. They're still together. I never took those apart, and I'm not going to now unless I need to replace the thermal paste. I'm not sure yet, but for now this should be fine. So the motherboard is a Gigabyte. It's an AM3 Plus board because my CPU is an FX. I'm not exactly sure what model this motherboard is. It's an ultra durable dual BIOS. It's got SATA 2, so no SATA 6 gigabit per second on here, but that shouldn't really matter because I'll only be using a standard mechanical hard drive in this computer. I believe the model is the Gigabyte GA78LMT-USB 3. Now this motherboard does still work. I have tested it fairly recently. The only problem is that onboard audio doesn't function for whatever reason. Whenever you plug speakers in, it just makes a strange noise, and nothing I've done has been able to fix that problem. And the microphone in port on the back also doesn't work. Now speaking of the CPU, it is an AMD FX 4300. I'm not sure if it's the black edition or not. Somewhere I read that it was in the product listing, but then in reality I'm not sure if it was or not, because the listing at Curry's when I bought this said loads of different contradictory things, so I'm not really sure exactly what it is, and I've never actually checked, so that will be interesting to find out. So we've got 4 RAM slots here. This is of course DDR3, and the RAM we will be using in this is some Kingston RAM. And I've got 2 4GB sticks of it. I'm not sure what the speed is, it doesn't actually say on it, but this is very low profile RAM. It is extremely small compared to other RAM that I've seen. It hardly sticks up above the RAM slot in the board, so this is probably designed for use in like low profile cases, but it came in this computer probably because it's cheap and we will be using it in this build. So earlier I said that we'd just be using a mechanical hard drive in this computer, and here it is. It's a WD Blue, it's a 1TB drive. This was the biggest drive I'd ever seen back when I bought this computer. This is the drive that came in it, probably because the WD Blues are fairly cheap drives. And if we look on this drive, it actually says when it was manufactured. And it says the 21st of January 2015. So this was about 5 years ago, give or take a week. So this is the drive we'll be using. At some point I did have an SSD in this system, but we won't be putting that back in. I believe the original install of Windows 8 I had on this computer is still on this drive. The last time I checked, a couple of months ago, this drive was still working. So hopefully that is still the case now. Now for a gaming PC, an important part is the graphics card, and this is the card that I've got. It's an XFX card, it's an AMD Radeon R7 250A low profile. And is it a gaming card really? Well, not really. It's a fairly cheap card now. It's worth maybe £30 or £40. At the time it wasn't even considered to be very good, but it was put in this computer that was branded as a gaming PC. I bought it thinking it would be able to play games, and it played the games I wanted to at the time, but over time newer games came out and they didn't really run very well on this. But just for day-to-day Windows use, it's fine. It can output at 4K, no gaming at 4K though of course, but just browsing around in Windows and doing basic tasks like that, it works just fine. It's PCIe, and it has a VGA, HDMI and DVI port on it. It requires no external power, so that's good if you've got like a low wattage power supply. It'll be fine for that. It has 2 GB of video RAM, and there was also a 1 GB version available at the time, and the 1 GB was actually the better one to go for because it had GDDR5. This is only GDDR3, so fairly slow compared to the 1 GB one, but this is the one that came in the computer, so it's the one we will be using. Speaking of power supplies, well, kind of, here is the one that I have. It is a Corsair VS450. It is not modular or even semi-modular, so we've got all these horrible ketchup and mustard and horrible rainbow coloured cables. Now the case isn't very good for cable management, so trying to hide these will be quite a challenge, but it's been done and it doesn't look too bad, so this should be fine. This power supply is enough for this computer. It doesn't draw a lot of power, so this will be fine. Final component I want to talk about is the DVD drive. At the time, DVD drives were becoming slightly less popular, but all the games I had still needed to be installed through optical media. And this is actually the same drive that came in the computer originally. Fairly cheap now as well, and this one connects via SATA, and it's actually a fairly decent drive. I've used it more recently in other computers, but this will be going back into this one when we get round to building it. And really, I think that is it for this video. This was just a parts overview so you know what components will be used when we get round to building it. Hopefully it won't be too long until I can build it. There's just a few more things that I need to find, like the cold cathode that was inside to light it up blue. I think I know where that is, and I also need to find my blue SATA cables, which will go perfectly inside here. So thank you for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one where we hopefully build this thing. Goodbye.